Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webcast today. The topic is PLM 360. My name is Andy Deal. I'm your host, and presenting today are two of our PLM experts, Nathan Eliason and Jonathan Creek. So today's webcast is going to run about 30 minutes. I just want to remind the audience that anytime if you have questions, go ahead and type in your questions in the Q&A panel, and we will address them in the Q&A section of the webcast. Thank you very much, and at this point, I'm going to pass the presentation over to Nathan.
Okay, thank you, Andy. As Andy mentioned, my name is Nathan Eliason, and today I am joined by Jonathan Creek, who's one of our PLM consultants, and we're excited to be giving you guys an introductory look at PLM 360. Over the coming months, we're going to be running a webinar series on PLM 360 where we're going to be going into more depth in a lot of the different areas that PLM 360 addresses. But for today, we're going to give you guys an introductory look at it, and we're excited to kick off this web series. So we're going to start off with really addressing the question, what is PLM? After that, we're going to talk about some of the benefits and capabilities that PLM offers. You know, how can it deliver you and your organization value? Then after that, I'm going to turn the time over to Jonathan, who is going to give you a demonstration so that you can see, get a feel of what the user interface looks like, how the software works. After that, we're going to go over a quick summary and then review next steps so that you can continue to learn more about PLM 360 and understand how it can help you and your company to improve your overall product processes. So just a real quick introduction. As I mentioned, today Jonathan Creek is going to be giving the demonstration. He's one of our senior PLM consultants here at Cative. I'm also a senior technical specialist, and I'll be the one that kind of walks us through the presentation and helps explain what PLM 360 is. So a lot of us are familiar with the engineering processes that we do day in, day out in order to get a product finished and to get it released and out the door. We also understand the engineering processes around once a product is released, making changes to it so that we improve any defects or make general improvements to our products or our projects. But oftentimes, to successfully release and manage a product, even after it's released, it takes a lot more than just engineering to do that. You have service and support that need to understand all of the problems and how they can fix them. You have quality management that wants to make sure that all the parts that come from suppliers are correct and all the parts that you make internally are correct. You have manufacturing that needs to understand how the products go together. So you can see there's a lot of different groups that have to work together to make product launches successful and to make the overall management of the product successful. So a lot of problems that companies face with this whole process is, they need to understand what needs to be done before we can get this product ready to go to mass production, or when we can release a project for a specific client. Who knows where I can find the document? Oftentimes a lot of the spec sheets that we have, they're on someone's local hard drive somewhere in the company, or there are a lot of network drive partitions for each group that put their files in their own location, and none of the other groups are even aware of the documentation or don't even know how they can access it. So, where do I find these documents that I need? How do we know that the bill of material that we're currently working with is the latest one? When we're out in the field after the product is released, how do we know which failures happen the most often and which ones that we really need to address to cut down the issues in the field? From a supplier perspective, do we know if the supplier is audited? How do we know which parts that they supply? How do we know the spec that we have to hold them to? How do we know all this information? And then, not only that, but oftentimes we have different groups have different spreadsheets throughout the organization that they use to track this data, that they use to move this product along through its process, and no one knows about these spreadsheets, and there's a whole bunch of them. So how do we manage that? How do we keep that under control? So these are the kind of problems that PLM 360 addresses. So PLM 360 really It's all about having a central hub where not only engineering can access the data, but all of the other groups around it, whether it's purchasing, quality, marketing, all those other groups can access the data, and all of the product data definition can be in a single location. So what this allows you to do is it enables you to find information easily without having to email 100 different people to track the information down and get what you need. It allows you to run reports to have a better understanding of the different issues that need to be addressed or fixed when it comes to your product or your projects. It allows you to drive visibility and accountability. Oftentimes I'll talk to some customers and they'll say, we don't know who's responsible for the next step in the process, and so sometimes that delays things getting done. Well, with PLM 360, because the process is there digitally and it shows who has to finish the next step, it drives visibility and accountability. Also, a lot of times we want a lot of information, and the only way we can get information is through status meetings. So companies will have meeting after meeting after meeting to try to get all of this information and to collect it together and make sure that everyone's on the same page. Well, when you have all of your data in a central location, all of that is readily available without having to have those status meetings. We can also integrate with ERP so that your ERP and your PLM are in lockstep as far as the bills of materials, what changes need to take place, revisions, all of that can be synchronized together. And then, most important, you can just easily find and reuse components, and you can collaborate easily across the organization. So PLM addresses a lot of these issues and really allows and enables your company to act in a more efficient, productive way. Now, a third-party company that does research, they talk to a lot of different companies out in the manufacturing industry. They're called SimData. They did a study on where these different companies are finding value in their PLM systems that they're implementing. And the results are very interesting. There's an increase in their overall productivity. They found great reductions in the time that it takes in order to get their designs out on the market, time to manufacturing, time to find information. All of these different processes, even through reducing the amount of design errors, have all been greatly and drastically improved through the implementation of PLM 360. Now, typical PLM implementations, what happens is, you have an initial implementation where you have to have the hardware on site, you have to install all the software, you have to configure it, you have to get it set up, you have to train the users. So there's, this initial dip in value here at the beginning. But then as the users start using the system, they see a lot of value. Then when it comes time to upgrade, they have to spend a lot of time, updating all of their hardware again, reinstalling the software, configuring the new features. And at that point in time, the value goes down a little bit again until everything gets installed and everything's up and running again. And then it goes, and then their value goes up again, and the cycle just continues on. And that's typically how the traditional PLM systems work. What's great about PLM 360 is that because it is cloud-based, you get up and running very, very quickly. So, you still have this reduction in your return at the beginning as you're configuring, you're getting set up. But then once you get it set up and the users are using it, really your return keeps going up because there's no costly upgrades. The upgrades happen automatically. They happen quarterly right now. And it's very easy it just happens. There's no costly hardware that you have to purchase and maintain. There's no separate database licenses. Once you have a license into PLM 360, you can use all of the functionality that you want. There's no additional modules that you have to buy if you want to expand its capabilities. And one of the really nice things is that you can use it anywhere. So if you have a tablet, if you have a phone, and you happen to be out on the shop floor, you happen to be at a customer site, and you have to approve, part of a workflow, you can actually do that on the go. You don't even have to be around a computer. So it's very convenient, and it just really helps companies get their processes done more efficiently. So the core capabilities that PLM 360 covers, and again, as I mentioned, over the coming months, we're going to be doing a webinar series where we go into more detail in a lot of these different topics that you see on the screen right now. But a general overview of the core capabilities So there's a lot of bill of material capabilities. You know, we have part classifications. You can compare bill of materials. You can set effectivity for when you make bill of material changes, when you need parts to be phased in and phased out. From a change perspective, we can do change orders, change requests. You know, those out on the shop floor can actually issue problem reports. From a supplier perspective, we have approved vendor lists. We can manage the auditing, know when the last time they were audited is. From a product perspective, we can track all of the deliverables and have status dashboards so we know where each product is in the design process. For quality, we can understand what the non-conformance reports are. We can issue corrective action and preventative actions. And what's nice is that all of these different areas are interrelated. So, if we do a corrective action that requires a change order, we can have the workflow automatically start a change order. And so there's a lot of interactions between these different environments. And really, as I mentioned before, it's really to drive efficiency and productivity within your organization so that you can do real effective product design, product release, and product management throughout its entire process. So with that said, I want to turn the time over to Jonathan, who is going to give us an overview of the PLM 360 interface.
Good morning, guys. As Nathan and Andy mentioned, my name is Jonathan Creek. I'm a PLM expert here at Gative. And so this morning, I kind of just wanted to, follow up on some of the things that Nathan just mentioned. First of all, when I look at this tenant, it is 100% cloud-based. These menus here, what I love about this system is that all this is customizable. These are all modules that come with PLM 360. They're all free. They don't cost anything. You have them all available to you. And in contrast to some other PLM systems, you would have to pay for those modules and actually pay to have them implemented into your system. These are easily just installed from the App Store. A lot of these are installed by default. And every 3 months, there's new things coming out, as Nathan mentioned, and they're automatically available to your tenant for free. It's no cost. So these are kind of some of the default workspaces. Again, if I want this product to be called product management, I'll show you a different system here. This is one that has more project management related things. PLM 360 doesn't aim to completely replace project management tools like Dynamics, but it does want to make it relevant to the PLM system. So project management, tasks, project costing, things like that. So that's kind of the contrast of how I can go from, this type of workspace, to customizing it specifically for something else. But for this demo, I'm going to go into the products. And for this type of, system, this is going to be kind of my main, figurehead for managing my product. And you can see here there is a NVIDIA graphics card G2 2020. If I actually go into this workspace, I'm seeing all these details about this product. Again, all these tabs that I'm seeing, these details, this bill of materials, task and deliverables, milestones, approval workflow, etc., are all customizable. I choose which what tabs I'm showing to specific users. So if I log in as a quality person, maybe I don't even see, these. I see something about the product that's related to me. Maybe it's a task that I have to approve. Maybe manufacturing has been sent a request, from PLM 360 saying the engineering is making a change. There is an actual change order. I can actually go into this separate change order workspace, this change management workspace, and go directly to the change order. Or I can come in on this product level and see those affected changes from this perspective. So that's what I really love about it, is that it's customizable across the board for all users. I'm determining, as a PLM administrator, what people, certain people need to see. So on this detail tabs, these are all customizable. We're looking at some product features. You can include product images in there. These can automatically be synced from your data management system as well. And this product team, we've set up some default kind of stages for this product. There's a concept, there's a requirements definition, there's the development, validation testing, control run, pilot run, and production. Those are all customizable. This is just kind of more of the out-of-the-box, the typical things that somebody does to manage a product. On the next stage, this is where we're actually going to get into the power of PLM 360. So I have a bill of materials view on this, and this is all expandable all the way down. Every single one of these items is an actual item that's in a different workspace. So I'm not just seeing this non-interactive view. Let me close this real quick for you. It's not just an ERP view of it, right? It could be pulled from your ERP system, as Nathan mentioned. This could be a mashup of your ERP data in here, but it's all interactive. So I can actually click on any of these items, and it's going to drop me down into, relevant parts for that particular system. And I can keep going down. I can keep drilling down into different parts of this assembly. So now I'm really down into this. It's actually changed into the items and bill of material workspace, which is, in here. So it's a separate workspace, but they talk to each other. So, if I need somebody just to see these materials, maybe I only give them permission to view this workspace and not more of the product management workspace. So they're all interactive. And let me go back to the products here. And we'll kind of see the differences on the workflows that are available. So, process management. I have tasks and deliverables related to this product. And these are, some really great metrics to see what's happening with this product. So I can kind of see what's happening in a quality workspace. I can kind of see what's happening in a development workspace. This is kind of the high-level overview of the entire product life cycle or evolution. And again, all these are interactive. They're actual items in other workspaces, but I'm kind of seeing the metrics and the overall view of them. From a project management standpoint, you can easily look at, the milestones, how long certain things are taking, be able to adapt those workflows. If something's not being signed off on, this requirement definition, this next stage, these are all, I can make these requirements. So before I can move on to development, all these things have to be checked off. It's completely customizable though. The actual approval workflow, and this is something that, people have asked for a number of years, kind of contrast the ECO system or the workflow system and things like our product data management involved. It's an engineering change order process that's involved, and it's great for engineering. What it doesn't do is give that visibility to people outside of engineering, so the quality. So this is more of a change order system, and this is really the actual workflow for this particular workspace. So I can actually customize this. This is just like Visio. If you can actually use Visio, you can make your own workflow for a workspace. It's very, very simple to do. Really, most of the customization that could be done in PLM 360 is very simple. It's point and click. There's wizards for everything that you're doing. For the form generation on these detail tabs and things, that's all wizard-based. You don't really have to do any scripting. There is JavaScript involved in the background. So if you really do know how to develop, I've been a programmer for 17 years, so I get down deep into that, but you don't have to. So there's very minimal scripting that would need to be done to modify something completely, but out of the box, it's very, very customizable. So you can run through these stage gates, and these stage gates also have permissions tied to them. So, again, not just the workspaces themselves, but really these workflows. I can choose who needs approval, who can approve to the next stage gate, and there's different actions that can happen on this. So I can have automatic email notifications, and it's not just a blank email that's just going to sit in somebody's box. There's follow-up settings to say, hey, if somebody doesn't approve this within a day, I'm going to send them another email. And if he doesn't respond to that again, it's going to automatically be escalated to somebody in management or maybe somebody else that can push it forward. Maybe that guy's on vacation for some reason, right? And that's very configurable on who gets notified. who has kind of override status. Can a manager push this through if we actually need to get done? As long as all the requirements are done, we're not waiting on a single sign-off that may never happen that's delaying the project. And then, your visibility about this product. So they use a cloud-based viewer. And I can actually see the drawing that's, the engineering data that, is relevant to this. Now, this doesn't, I don't actually have the Inventor IDW in here, or DWG. This is the DWIF. This is a 3D visualization. And it has the same power, so 3D, the DWIF capability is in all of our products, and beyond being able to see it and comment on it and use this as kind of an approval document, I can actually go in and, download the actual DWIF itself, and I can load it up in Design Review, and I can actually have the full capabilities of Design Review, which has a lot more markup tools and things like that. It's purpose-built for, being able to manipulate this. And then I can send that back to PLM. I could send it somewhere else that integrates with PLM. There's a lot of options there. So let's look at more of the process management that I can do with this this particular product. So if I look into my change management system, we have. Let me actually look over on this one. So for I have change requests, change orders, and again, you can add different types of change orders in here. So here's some material specifications. If I look into the change order system, here's some of the change orders that have been done. And these all tie back to those, those product workspaces, to those other quality workspaces. This is really just the specific view about change orders. And again, all these details about this, change order are customizable. There's not anything just out of the box that you have to do or you're locked into. I can change all the details about this. I can pull the details from ERP or from CRM or from Vault. Any system that I need to pull information into this one source of the truth, I can do so. So the affected item, so I actually see that, and again, it's a clickable link. I can actually go to that product and see exactly what I'm changing, what's being affected, and all these information is customizable and being able to pull from other locations. And then the workflow actions, we kind of solve this in the product workspace. So this is the same tab, but it's a different workflow, right? And as you know, with change orders, you might need to have a change order process just for engineering. You might need a change order process just for quality. You might need one just for changing a material spec. They're all customizable. You could probably use one, change order for a number of different tasks, but you don't have to. You don't have to try to fit in your process into, a default change order system. You make your own. You can create your own workflow actions for literally every single workspace in the system. So if I go to in the quality system, we've got non-conformances, corrective and preventive actions, or CAPA, audits, procedures, and guideline specs. This is huge. A lot of companies will have, these Excel documents that they're maybe storing in SharePoint, or maybe they're putting it in Vault. And it really doesn't accomplish much. I mean, you're putting it into a system, it's accessible, but in the end result, somebody's still downloading a document, and they're still, marking it up manually by hand and having to scan it back in or check it back into a system. And you can definitely do that, but PLM really shines where you can actually take and create a form inside PLM 360 to completely replace that process. So you can customize these different details, to include all the things that you need to about that form. So it becomes a digital form, and this is a material spec. We were talking with customers just recently about material spec capabilities. It's a huge thing. Engineering makes a recommendation, and they want an off-the-shelf part versus maybe you know, a custom-built part. Well, manufacturing gets sent that information, and then it's let go. Nobody follows up on it. Manufacturing does. Their process, they have a separate change order system. They have a separate system that's keeping that information. They don't talk to each other. With PLM 360, it kind of bridges that gap, becomes full circle. So, you know, you're not having two different systems, two different approval processes. It's all one system. Engineering signs off on in the same system. Manufacturing signs off in the same system. So at this time, we can go into more detail about these workspaces. There's a lot. We could talk all day just on corrective and predictive actions. We could do a webcast just for that. We kind of just wanted to give you a brief overview of how all these, you know, all these workspaces are interconnected, and that's what makes it really great. Is it's all customizable. It's all connected. You can even include your sales and marketing stuff in here too, right? It's not designed to completely replace CRM or your ERP system, but it does mash up that data. So I can pull that data in, and now I don't have to be a Salesforce expert to be able to define the data that I need, or the customers, or the, you know, these marketing assets. I can look at it all inside PLM 360. So at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Nathan.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. So here, give me just a second here, and I'll share my screen here. So I wanted to go ahead and, you know, really summarize what we discussed during the call today. You know, as we mentioned, this is really an introduction to PLM 360, what it is. Over the coming months, we're going to be going into a lot more detail in some of those different areas that Jonathan was talking about during his presentation. So we're excited to be sharing that with you. You know, you guys saw how flexible the software is. It's very configurable with the workflows, so that instead of, you know, making your workflows work with the software, you know, the software can work with your workflows. You know, you were able to see that it's really easy to use. The way that it has the forms, the way that it's laid out, you know, being web-based, it's very easy to train users how to go in and get their work done. They can very quickly and easily see what tasks that they need to get done so that they can move their projects forward. You know, we talked about it being the fastest time to value, because you don't have to have your own hardware, because you don't have to do your own upgrades, because all of that seamlessly happens in the background. You know, there's just an initial investment up front to get your to get everything configured and set up to the way that it works with your company and your processes that you have. And then from there, you're able to realize a lot of value and keep up with any upgrades that happen over time. And then, you know, just as important, the fact that it's accessible anytime, anywhere. So, you know, we showed you today how to access it from a desktop browser, but as I mentioned, there are also tablet and phone applications, so that all of that data that you saw today can be accessed directly using mobile devices. So at this time, I want to go ahead and open it up for any questions that anyone might have. So Andy, did you want to open up the phone lines?
Great, thanks, Nathan. So at this time, please enter any questions that you have into the Q&A panel, and we'll address it at this time. And while we're waiting for questions, I do want to remind the audience that when you log off the webcast, a short survey will pop up. There's only 5 questions. It'll take you about a minute to complete that. Please take a minute to do that. It will really help us out a lot. While you are doing your demos, Jonathan, there are a couple of questions that came in. One of the questions is, let me paraphrase it because it's a long question. If a company is looking into implementing PLM 360, what is the actual process that it will take? Because Nathan talked about, you know, how the typical PLM implement process, you know, in a traditional system takes a long time, and there's a lot of dips and curves. What's the difference? Can you go over some of the process of how you would implement PLM 360?
Yeah, so what we do initially is we would have, you know, a discovery, a call, maybe a BPA, a business process assessment on site, and we would try to identify, you know, this is a tool chest, right? So this is the power of PLM 360. You don't have to implement it all at one time. I showed you a lot of workspaces, but they don't all have to be configured. They don't all have to be installed. With traditional PLM systems, it's all or nothing, right? And to get additional modules after that, it costs money. It costs money to implement it. This is all available to you. You can click install. You have the next workspace, and you can configure it. But how we kind of approach it is we try to find one key area. So maybe quality. Quality resonates with a lot of people. You're a company with a lot of different business units. I guarantee that quality is going to be one of their biggest concerns. So maybe it's quality, maybe it's some of the other core capabilities like BOM management, ECO, change order process. We would find a key area that resonates with your company, maybe takes a long time, doesn't have a lot of visibility, and we would try to pilot that that process. And that would get you up and going with PLM 360. We would provide, we have a couple different levels of service that we do, so we can obviously implement the entire thing for you. We can kind of do administration training and help you, or we can just be, a trusted advisor on when you want to actually add new workspaces, when you want to have a process that you want to try to champion, and we can help you with that. So it's a very ad hoc process. And if you already know that you want a quality, you want a change order system, you want 4 or 5 things, we can do that. But we would start with trying to find something that you can see ROI on very, very quickly. And again, that's the power of PLM 360 is you don't have to do everything at once.
Great. Anything you want to add there, Nathan?
No. So just like Jonathan said, we're able to come in and help you. We're able to help you a couple different ways. We can, train you on the software and then, help you as you implement it, or we can actually do the implementation for you. So, and as Jonathan mentioned, we really look for the areas that are most painful for your company first, and those really have the highest value of a return, and those are the ones that we focus on first. And then, once you do that project, then you implement more and more processes until you have all the processes that you want inside of PLM 360. So it's a very metered way to make sure that you implement it correctly, that you implement it in a way that really drives value for your organization.
Thanks. There's another question that came in for you, Jonathan. When you're talking about approval, can you talk more about customization of approving a workflow or visibility to a workflow?
So yeah, one of the key strengths of PLM 360 is accountability and visibility. So for every workspace, and every workspaces are the the different titles on that main menu. So I can go into corrective and predictive actions. I can go into items and bill of materials. Those are workspaces, or what PLM 360 calls workspaces. For every workspace, there is the ability to add users or groups or roles. And so I can have a particular group that I assign administration to. I'm going to actually create a quality group, and I'm going to add people to that. The licensing with PLM 360 is all named users, so I'm actually naming my users that would be in that quality group. And then beyond that, so that just gets them access to the workspace to be able to click on that menu and actually open up that workspace. But when it comes to the actual approval workflows and things like that, when you actually design the workflow, and there's a workflow editor that you can go into, and as each stage gate is configured, you say, well, from this transition to this transition, I'm going to have either this entire group be able to do it, or maybe I just add a specific user. So maybe a manager could only send it back the other way, but maybe this particular group can send it forward. And then, I want visibility on that. I want notifications to other groups. So when it pertains to engineering, maybe it's a quality workflow, but I want engineering to be notified and as soon as that stage gate is changed, then engineering is notified. They have certain permissions to get in once they're notified. So it's very highly configurable. There's nothing you're locked into. You decide how people work through the approval process. You decide what they can view and what they can't.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. I don't think we have any more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to you, Nathan, for wrap-up.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. So we wanted to go ahead and wrap up today's presentation by just recommending some next steps. So we do have a blog that has a lot of updated information on PLM 360. The nice thing about this blog.kativ.com is that it's not just PLM 360, but it really addresses all of the different products that we help our customers with. So it's a really great source of information. It keeps us up to date on all of the new happenings. It talks about some of the situations that customers have found good solutions for. So it's really a valuable source of information. And so we encourage you to bookmark that and to check up on it periodically. In addition, we also encourage you guys to contact us. We can, as we mentioned earlier, we can help you conduct assessments of your environment to help determine really what would be a good place to start. We can also give some demonstrations so that we can go much more into depth on the different areas of functionality that we're able to address with PLM 360. I went ahead and put mine and Jonathan's contact information here. If you contact either one of us, we can definitely start helping and start the process to helping you improve the management of your overall processes at your company. So again, we really appreciate the time today that you guys have joined our webcast, and we look forward to talking to you again during the next webcast in this series. So thanks everyone, and hope you all have a great day.
Great, thank you.